When I'm not consolidating all of these Starbucks gift cards I've gotten over the last 3 Christmases combined and launching a hostile Wall Street takeover, I'd like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. I would really love for someone, Sean, to give some tips on how to take a song performed by a full band, something you hear on the radio with bass, drums, keyboards, etc., and strip it down to a sparser arrangement that sounds good on solo guitar. These are sometimes hauntingly beautiful, for example, the Welcome to the Machine cover that you did with Jada. What kind of decisions do you make to keep the essence of the song while stripping it down to its bare bones? Great question. This is actually something I think a lot about because a lot of the songs we play live in the shows, the local shows, are mostly covers because that's just kind of like the reality. You can sneak some originals in there, but people mostly want to hear covers. So you want to avoid the soul-crushing thing of just playing open chord covers and stuff, but still kind of keep your own creativity and musicianship, add your musicianship to what you're doing, right? So I'm just going to talk about kind of my thoughts and give a few examples on how I like to take full band arrangements and kind of strip them down into something that sounds interesting on an acoustic guitar, okay? So I've got 2 examples. Maybe the first one to do is Someday by The Strokes. Really cool song. That kind of sounds a little bit sad in an acoustic arrangement, but what I'm doing is I'm thinking of what strikes me as a listener that is important in the song. And again, if we just take that song, which if you look at the chords, it's really like F to G minor to either B flat back to F or F, G minor, F, right? Now, what is interesting about the song in the original version is that really cool melodic thing that the Strokes have where they combine maybe 2 different melodies on electric guitar and like work together. So one melody would be like this. Which is super boring in and of itself, but in the context of a band, that kind of strikes out as being like the melody, right? All that is on the high string is just an F to a G, an A to a G, an A to a G, a G to an F. Then the bass drum or the bass guitar is doing something like the F to the G, B flat to F. So if I have the chords, which are just basically F to G minor, I have that melody and I have that bass line, maybe what I can do is I can start by adding that to that first chord, which is F, right? And even if the melody isn't in this one spot, which is something that took me a while to really to figure out, and that's why it's really important that you learn the entire fretboard, sometimes the melody, the register that you're looking for, is going to be nowhere near maybe the traditional chord voicing that you have, right? This is an instance of where it is. I can play an F chord right here, and that's right by the melody. And then I can do the second melody, and then I can add each of those lines into the chord, and then if I want, I still have kind of like a bigger way to do it. So you can still make a dynamic of it where you have a smaller chord voicing and then add like the fuller chord with the bass line, right? So that's just one example of maybe taking the melody that is special about the original arrangement and finding a way to jam it on top of one of the chords and still leave room for like a vocal. That's what's cool about acoustic guitar, and what's fun about making acoustic guitar arrangements is making them so they're not too busy where a vocal can't sit comfortably within them, but they're interesting enough where it's not just, the same chords back and forth, right? Another example that maybe a lot of people know the sound of is Ain't No Mountain High Enough, right? The Marvin Gaye song. Everybody kind of knows what that intro sounds like, but if you were to just play it on an acoustic guitar, it doesn't really sound great. It's like B minor to like G sharp half diminished, something like that, right? It's just, you wouldn't recognize that song as Ain't No Mountain High Enough just by hearing that. The interesting thing about that is like the drums are nasty, super creative. They have that little thing on the rim of the sticks hitting the rim. So that and the bells stand out to me as what's special and important about that song. So to incorporate that, maybe you take the first chord then eventually you get... And to me, if I were just to hear that, I'd be like, oh, that's that Marvin Gaye song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, right? Because that... right there, that's really just a B minor chord over an A root note. And again, if B minor, just be the 7th fret barred with the A here. But that da-na-na-na-na, that's kind of like representative of the like that stick hit in combination with the bell. So to me, that's an example of like, all right, something that is not guitar, right? We have bells and somebody just taking drumsticks and hitting the rim or the wood part of a drum shell, and then finding a way to incorporate that into the rhythm of the guitar, right? So again, you have a lot of tools at your disposal with just an acoustic guitar because you can use it as a percussive instrument. A lot of people do like tapping and stuff like that. I don't really do that so much, but even without doing like guitar tapping and stuff, that's a good way to kind of separate the bands of the strings and have something low. The high end getting that, same thing, over a different chord. And then really kind of connecting those chords would be the next thing, because that's what a bass does, essentially. That is just take the root note and then just run it all together. So for example, that progression ends on like an E minor 9, and then it goes back to that B minor. So to really just chromatically walk it. I do a lot of chromatic walks in my acoustic guitar playing, where it doesn't matter how far, there ain't no valley wide enough to keep me from connecting two chords just by going up frets one at a time to find the next chord. So again, there's no one way to do it, but I do think that if you really are thoughtful about what is interesting and special about the song that you're covering and try to incorporate that into maybe the strumming pattern, the rhythmic kind of way you're playing the chords, and maybe just like connecting them, maybe working a bass line in there, I think you end up with an interesting acoustic arrangement that is also not super boring to play, which in turn will get people more excited to listen to you because you're actually having fun playing it. You might teach me how to play guitar, but can you teach me how to love? Earnestly and without fear. I completely tuned out everything he said because I was trying to figure out if that was a wig. So I've had a couple videos the last few weeks go, I guess, like semi-viral. I always think of like viral as just when it gets away from your subscribers and gets recommended on YouTube. Every time that happens, like 80 to 85% of the viewers of those videos are people who've never are unfamiliar with the channel and they maybe see me for the first time. Every time that happens, everyone's like, what's up with that wig? And I think that's so funny. Because again, I don't really know what the wig world is like, but I've never seen someone with a wig look like this. So I don't know. I guess I'm actually kind of flattered, but it always is pretty funny. Toys to Men featuring Kindred. That's the sauce. So this is on the holiday special last week. If you missed it, Andrea and I were turned into Muppets and we had to spread cheer to get ourselves out. Thankfully, we are no longer Muppets anymore. But the showstopper of that is Get It In on Christmas by the band Toys to Men, which is me, my little bro Colin, my brother Paul, and Kindred. And that is probably the most slept on YouTube Christmas video of all time. So I'm going to link it in the description again just because it deserves to be seen. So check that out. He looks like he's not eating properly and slept out in the streets last night. So is it homeless or is it a wig? Make up your mind. I'm up next in the music industry. It's funny when you become so jaded that you see a comment like this just like brimming with enthusiasm, and I just laugh and I think, this poor child. I mean, best of luck to you. Best of luck. You point a finger. Gee, us grown-ups who've made it past the 3rd grade cut it an index finger. Imagine how calcified the salt in your heart must be to be like, pointer finger, what a child, what a fool. Everyone knows the distinction between children and adults is saying index finger instead of pointer finger. Those who use major 7 chords are wimps. To an arranger and band conductor who finished a song with a major 7 chord, B.B. King turned and said, "You do that again, you're fired." Alright, for listening homework this week, I'm going to throw you to some newer music by Moses Sumney. Really cool sounding stuff. Definitely got some cool guitar going on there too, so check that out. And then if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section. Instagram, Twitter, the website. Sign up for my Patreon to learn more songs like the ones we just talked about arranging. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.